in the Kansas City-Tampa Super Bowl. You said we lost that game. So what is your pick in this game?
In this game, who do I think is going to win?
He did use the word we.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering who we. Well, who is we?
Who's we this time around?
I don't want to know who you think's going to win. I want to know who you want to win.
Who do I want to win?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Welcome to the Fitz and Whit Show. Jason Kelce will be joining us today. Let's go ahead and throw some accolades out there, Whit. I'm going to start with 7-time Pro Bowler.
Ooh, I like sevens. You know that. 6-time All-Pro.
They all happened in his 30s.
They did.
Yeah.
I would say arguably the greatest center of all time.
The only guy I know that can golf without sleeves and get away with it.
Could he possibly be a guy who has a better beard than you?
No.
The amount of times, by the way, I do have a bone to
That's
pick
why
with you.
I brought it up.
The amount of times in the
up.
last 2 years, people come up to me and not say, hey, Fitzmagic, or hey, you're the guy that played for it. They're like, dude, you look like the guy that plays center for the Eagles.
Gosh.
But tell him the truth. You signed a lot of fake autographs at
I've
American
signed a lot of
Century.
your autographs.
You've done them?
You signed a lot of fake autographs.
I'm just trying to make people happy. I don't want you to think you're an asshole. So.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us. We're here in
man.
New Orleans. Looking forward to the big game.
Yeah.
Whit and I talked extensively about the Eagles and why they're going to win. We're going to get to your prediction in a minute because I think you're still on the fence. But
I'm very much on the fence.
Let's start with the line play in this game because I think that's what's being talked about a lot, but two guys that probably understand it more than anybody. Mm-hmm. Do you see an advantage for one team or the other with the guys
in the trenches?
Yeah.
I think both teams have good offensive lines. I think the Eagles, as long as everybody's healthy, are the best offensive line in the NFL, pretty hands down. And then defensive line, obviously you got Chris Jones for Kansas City, Karlaftis, a lot of guys that fit their system really well and like they play well as a group. I think Jalen Carter, Chris Jones are both it's hard to pick between one of those two guys.
Yeah.
They're both really dominant. Chris is potentially more experienced, or he is. I don't know. I think I'd probably lean towards the Eagles from a talent perspective are better in the trenches on both sides.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs, what's tricky with them is like I think they have a lot of guys that fit what Spags wants to do and all the creativity that he likes to throw at him. And there's, he has Leo Chanel and like these like pieces where you can throw in the blitzes and all of that kind of that you're trying to figure out as well. I think creates all those guys opportunities and they play well together. They run games really well together. Karlaftis is a high effort guy who finds ways to like always put pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Now I don't know that's going to happen on Lane Johnson, but I mean at some point it's like that guy just finds a way to get it done.
What about because you both have obviously played in multiple and I have not, but the sound, like
You talking about playoff games?
I'm talking about Super Bowl.
Oh, sorry.
Specifically.
And playoff games. I was an Ivy League champion.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
we didn't have the
We're
playoffs.
not listening to your accolades right now.
But communication, quarterback to offensive line, center to the tackles, silent cadence. How do you go into a game assuming one way and then going the other way? What did you do in your Super Bowls?
I think for the most part in both, we kind of went in we worked a little of both and understood that more than likely you're going to be on silent. Because the easy thing to always do is go, we're not on silent anymore. Yeah. Let's go back to cadence.
Like a Rams home game, though, right?
Home games are always on silent, all right? So that's for the most part. I'm sorry, Dimoff. But the reality of going in the Super Bowl really for us and even in SoFi was that you knew Cincinnati was going to travel well. That was going to be loud. So I think we were prepared for both. Atlanta was crazy loud. I don't think we quite understood how loud that would be against the Patriots. But, yeah, you go in, silent count is the plan. My question would be, Jason, and I've tried to think about this myself, because you know the Philly run game as well as anybody, of course. When people say, all right, the Chiefs are going to sell out and try and stop Saquon Barkley, like I don't know that there's like all right, what is Spags going to do that's so different than anybody else has done other than just purely from an execution standpoint?
I think that, Spags is, I don't know he's going to do anything drastically different than maybe anybody else would do, but I think what's unique about him is that he'll have more in there to try and stop it than what most teams, I think, go into the game plan.
Yeah, obviously they're going to probably stunt. They're going to move some guys.
They're going to, like what he's done a lot in the past is done like a lot of saw pressure, right? So it builds like a 6-man front essentially, and then Bolton can kind of just scrape and he gets unblocked a lot. But I think, a lot of it'll be like formation specific. What runs do the Eagles like to do when they're in these formations, and like what do we want to blitz to kind of counteract that stuff, or coverages to play. I think that's what's hard with a run game, and I think one of the reasons why I think it's hard for a team to win a Super Bowl running the football is because at the end of the day, if a defensive coordinator gets a good scheme in just one playoff game and it kind of throws things off, there's so many things that need to go right for the run game.
One bad run,
and that's why like the quarterback, like at the end of the day, you could put all this like game plan in, and it could be you'd think going into the game it's the best thing ever. And then all of a sudden it's not working. At the end of the day, if you have a quarterback, then you just go back there and be like, all right, we're just going to run like our plays from shotgun and let Pat or Tom Brady just go out there and be them. How do you game plan for that as a D coordinator, I guess?
I think back to 2018. I mean, obviously our Rams offense was insane. Todd Gurley was unstoppable. Everyone's like, well, listen, the Patriots are going to have to score points. And we scored a whopping 3. And I say that one bad run because, to your point, you call the play and all of a sudden they have an answer of a way they're going to play it.
Yes.
It goes bad. It's not just about the plan. Now the coordinator goes, it's the Super Bowl. I can't waste calls. That one might be just completely out. Even if we know this is veteran O-lineman. Sometimes you run a play one time and you're like, oh, man, I hope you bring it back. Just bring it back. Please. But they lose all faith in it.
It's hard.
And that's how a game gets away from you. And that's why if you can just come up with that early couple calls that mess Philadelphia up a little bit, now you start to alter the game for the rest of it just because of that.
Callers start reaching. Like, oh, man.
You panic, too, because Kansas City, they're going to possess the ball. And all of a sudden, it's such limited possessions. And you're looking up and you're like, gosh, we've been sitting here for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're still on the field. And you're playing this bend but don't break. But the problem with that is you're going to limit your possessions on offense, so you do get a little bit tighter. I wanted to know your perspective, player to now member of the media, on Coach Sirianni.
What that means.
Member of the media on Nick Sirianni.
Yeah. Has your perspective changed at all? Or have you seen growth in him over the last few years? And
I think obviously every year he's getting more experienced and learning, and I think he's getting better and better as a head coach. He was great right from the get-go. One of the things he does, and this is where it's hard for, like, I'm a member of the media, but I still have, like, a history with him. So, like, I have, like, this knowledge and understanding of what he does on a day-to-day basis that I really respect. Like, I think organizationally, the way he conducts team meetings, like, this, sometimes you go into team meetings, you play for a lot of head coaches. Sometimes it's just the biggest waste of time in the world. At least I always thought, like, it's like,
I agree.
All right, what are we going to do here? Let's just get this out of the way. You're going to say the schedule. We're going to go about actually getting better and prepared for the game.
So Todd Bowles played in the league for a long time.
Yes.
We used to time him. And it was like, okay, will Todd last 45 seconds? Because as a player, too.
Yeah.
He knew it. And he's like, these things sometimes are meaningless. Yeah. But he does a good job.
Nick, he is so good at getting value out of that time.
Yeah.
Whether it's educating players on, like, new rules and officiating, situational football. I love that he puts up good and bad from practice and games. I think it's so critical to have accountability as a group, whether it's in the offensive meeting, the team meeting, the defensive meeting, and then obviously positionally that always happens. But putting a bad play up, but also highlighting when guys are doing well, he does a great job at that. And then his messaging just always seems to be on point. And I think early on, his first press conference, probably similar to my first late night show. You don't know what to do, and you're kind of a little awkward.
You got settled in with your cast.
You know what I mean?
Guys like this.
Whit got me in there.
Really takes off.
To me, the most awkward part of the late night show was Roger when he had the throw pillow.
So many people
he didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, so many people mentioned that.
He could not get comfortable in that chair. But Jason, you bring that up about Nick, and talking about, I think that everyone from afar is warming up to, oh, wow, like he's more impressive. The continue winning. I'm one of them, right? Because, from the jump, I was like, all right, there's a lot of emotion being shown. And I don't know that. But then to hear him explain it, you start to respect it a lot more because he kind of says, this is what Philadelphia is. So, like, I have to be what they are in some sense.
And I think sometimes, like, emotional, like, you see a player outburst on, like, a sideline or a coach. When you don't know that guy, it's easy to interpret it
Out of
negatively.
control.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas I think sometimes you'll see that when you know the guy and you know that it comes from a place of like good ultimately. Like he just is uncomposed maybe in that moment and probably shouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, you just look at it under a different lens, I think.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot with players. Like, I don't know, like anybody that I don't know personally, when I see stuff like that happen, because of how many guys I do know that have had those situations that I respect a lot, I don't really try to like, I guess, judge it as harshly.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say is, obviously with Sirianni, that's kind of, from the head coach position, people have changed that viewpoint. I think over this year, you've seen people kind of change how they see him from a big lens. But I think one of the things I've seen you talk about that has also changed a little bit, and you kind of gave some light on it recently, is the Jalen Hurts perspective of people always constantly acting like, they win in spite of him, or, like there's zero credit given for the fact that they've won these games. Like, talk about that a little bit in the sense that, yes, they do have a lot of weapons, but a lot of that is available because of the things he has.
Yeah, he's a dynamic quarterback that can attack a defense in multiple ways. And a lot of what the Eagles have done successfully on the ground is obviously the offensive line and Saquon Barkley, but the skill set that he has opened up things substantially as well. I mean, they run that counter tray quarterback read play, and it's almost like a guaranteed hit. And if you want to stop that, when two guys pull and the quarterback's reading the backside like end.
I didn't do much of that.
I don't. Well, but I mean, I don't know how
offense.
you defend it. And then when you don't, like, so they're playing the Ravens, going down at the end. They go end up scoring a touchdown to kind of seal it at the end of the game, and they run a quarterback. They run a read option play. Then they run that quarterback counter play where he keeps it and runs it up inside. Then they run a tackle pull. And you see the linebacker doesn't know, am I being read or am I supposed to, like, if this guy pulls, he's got to go over the top to make the gaps right over here. And they don't know what to do. And I think that a lot of that happens throughout the game with Jalen. And we saw it in San Francisco in the NFC Championship game, how much it slowed down Fred Warner and Greenlaw. There's a dynamic that he brings that opens everything up for a lot of other guys.
Yeah.
Now, I think that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I always go back to his performance in the Super Bowl too. Like one of the best
arguably
losing
his best
performances of all time in the Super Bowl.
He played his tail off.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
in
and
that
people
game.
point out like the fumble, but outside of that, he was dialed in and he was slinging it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this matchup. Okay, we're going to load the box. Okay, we're going to come after him. You got single coverage on the outside. And I think what he does best, those go balls on the outside and throwing outside the numbers to those two dudes, I mean, you're playing into the strengths of Jalen Hurts.
To me, they're so skilled everywhere that no matter what Spags is going to try and do, there's going to be something open for them to take advantage of. Now, what Spags does a good job is he disguises it, so you can't get that pre-snap tell maybe of what's coming. But if they want to play man and stack the box, good luck on the outside. I mean, they got good corners, but they're very good receivers on the Eagles. If they want to play zone, they can do the RPO game and replay, and then all of a sudden this linebacker's got to decide, am I going to, play the run and be dominant and try and get to my run fit, or am I going to play my zone where A.J. Brown's running a slant behind me? And then if they want to play a shell and play this bend don't break defense, it's going to be hard to stop Saquon. So I think that all of that is there. The trick is going to be, how do they discern what's coming? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go away from the X's and O's right now.
Sure.
And I would love to, traveling. Usually my family wasn't coming on to the road games much, and if they were, I wasn't talking to them anyways. But the Super Bowl, I'm assuming family is coming out. When do they come out? What does that look like? Are you in the same hotel as them? We cutting off time of when we're communicating
it's the worst part of the
with
week.
them?
The only person I've really communicated with so far is Kylie, so I don't know what hotel everybody's at. Everybody is coming out, other than we're leaving the kids in Philly. We didn't think New Orleans was the best, little kid-friendly city. Maybe that's wrong, a bad stereotype. I mean, is that correct? I don't know.
The
there's
beignet we
kids
ate
that
was
live
pretty
here.
good right
They
there.
would have loved that.
I mean,
and
they
we
would've
are,
loved the
there's that
beignets.
aquarium right there in the water.
Yeah, there you go.
So maybe we're dropping the ball there. But, yeah, we're there'll be pretty much everybody else from the Kelce family will be here for sure.
Yeah, and you just cut off communication with the fam like a couple nights before
Right
Super
now,
Bowl?
yes.
Like, not right now. I'm saying when you were playing.
Yes, in actual Super Bowls I played in, yeah, I would say that we basically try to treat it mostly like a regular season game. Now, there's always a team hotel or family hotel.
Yeah.
I would not see them much in a Super Bowl week just because there's not a lot of time to. But it would basically be kind of a playoff game environment in the sense that you're working a lot, and your normal times you'd see them like a couple nights in the middle of the week, maybe Friday night unless there's an event or something. But the rest of it is really honestly is much as you can keep it normal. I've always said this. I played in Atlanta in a Super Bowl. That was an insane experience, much like being here. And then we actually played a Super Bowl in SoFi in LA at home, and it was a crazy different experience. We chose to stay out at our facility. We did all our media out there. It was a completely different experience. It really just felt like a home game in the middle of the regular season, which was very odd. It was a very weird week to do it that way.
The only other team I think that had a home game Super Bowl was Tampa when they beat the Chiefs.
Yep.
Right?
Back to
I was
back.
at both those games.
Yeah, me
that was
too.
a back.
I've been
That
like
Tampa
the last
game
8.
was
it was bizarre, wasn't it?
it was awful. I mean,
And it was
watching
COVID, so it wasn't.
that was all terrible. And then I was just sitting in the regular seats and we lost, and I'm walking and I'm just the walk of shame coming out of that. Like everybody knew who I was, and Travis had just got his tail kicked. The Chiefs just lost, and the Tampa fans gave it to me, which. I was running with it, but
hold on, we've both won a Super Bowl and lost one.
Yeah.
Tell me about the lost Super Bowl experience. I know what mine is. It's literally still hard for me to go back to that night and even think about it.
There's all those what are the 8 stages of grief, or is it 8 of them? Something,
Sure, maybe
whatever.
9, 7, anxiety,
You go,
depression.
you're in denial. Then you go to you go through all of that. There's bargaining where you're thinking of, oh man, I could have, if I just would have done this.
Yeah,
we could have won the game.
Self-loathing.
It's so terrible.
I want to go back to, though, you said we when in the Kansas City Tampa Super Bowl. You said we lost that game. So what is your pick in this game?
In this game, who do I think is going to win?
He did use the word we.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering who we. Wow, is it who is we?
Who's we this time around?
I don't want to know who you think's going to win. I want to know who you want to win.
Who do I want to win?
Yeah,
I want the best team to win.
Oh boy, that's not an answer.
You're rooting for the Chiefs.
No, I can't. It's really hard for me to say which team.
Yeah.
Obviously my brother, I'll always root for Trav, and I want him to have all the success in the world, and family comes first and foremost. But as you guys know, I played with a lot of the guys in Philly.
Yep.
I mean, Lane's got to be family, right?
He's basically a brother at this point.
Yeah.
And somebody said something on Twitter I don't know if this is a biblical thing, but brothers in covenant or something like that, where it's you almost become, there's something in biblically speaking where you become like family with people that you put a lot of time, hard work, and effort, and you go through adversity together. And I think that, to me, I feel like I have a lot of family in this game on both sides.
Yeah.
Andy Reid drafted me and my brother.
Yep.
So I'm very conflicted on who I'm rooting for, and I still seeing my brother answer questions in the press sometimes. I'm like, man, am I even doing the right thing not rooting outwardly for Travis? Because I love all these other guys on the Eagles so much. It's difficult, to be honest with you. I'll be very happy for whoever wins.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and you'll be very sad.
He's going for the Chiefs. You
But
heard
I
it here
will
first.
be I will be immensely honestly, I'll be feeling for whoever loses the most. Because having lost one,
it's the worst.
It's the absolute most crushing feeling ever.
Yeah. I think it's better. I mean, better for me. I just never went.
Dude, seriously, I would have rather lost in the championship round or anything. Losing in the Super Bowl fucking sucks.
Yeah, Melissa always says this. My wife always says that she never even let her enter her mind that was a possibility. She feels like it was like a death.
Because everything's going so right all year for both of these teams.
You.
And you're we're invincible feeling, and you've become so close as a group, and all of a sudden you come up and you lose, and it's I don't know. It's just very deflating, and it sucks. Yeah.
Fitz, who are you going with?
I'm going for the Eagles. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Yeah, you?
Philly will love it.
Don't you dare flip on me. You said Eagles 2.5 the other day.
I'm going Eagles.
You're going Eagles.
All right, and going
I
Eagles.
almost flipped on you there, but I wanted to.
This has been the hardest one I feel like to pick, though, and it probably should be that way for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it is without question.
Both of them are so good. I could see either team really, truly winning this game.
Yeah, there's two different ways. I think the Chiefs needed to be a non-explosive game, possess the football and eat the clock.
Yeah.
Eagles needed to be an explosive game. They need explosives to happen for them to win the game.
Yeah.
And for Patrick not to have the ball at the end.
That would be a
That's the
key
thing.
ingredient.
All right, well, that is our Super Bowl 59 preview. Thank you for joining us, and can't wait to recap this game after it happens.